Greg's name on the screen, a rare call from his father, the man who'd spent Nathan's childhood praising Lydia while ignoring him, his hazel eyes darkening with suspicion as he answered, Greg's voice gruff, "Nathan, we need to talk." The words a sudden jolt, Nathan's hazel eyes widening with a flicker of unease. For a moment, he felt a pang of hope. Maybe his father wanted him there. Maybe this was a chance to mend things. His hazel eyes glistening with a fragile longing as he replied, "I'll be home 2 days early. I can help with Mom's birthday. Just let me know what you need." His voice fragile calm, longing as he hopeful. Replied, but Greg's response
"I'll be home
came
2 days
early, colder than Nathan
I can help
expected.
with Mom's birthday, if possible.
Just let me know what you
Don't
need.
come home this year."
His
with a
voice
fragile
calm, the
longing
words
as
hitting
he
like a
replied.
punch. Nathan's hazel eyes flashing with disbelief. As he gripped his coffee mug tighter,
For a moment,
the heat
he felt
burning
a pang
his
of
palm. "What do you mean, don't come?" His voice rising, a mix of confusion and hurt. Greg's tone firm, unyielding. "Lydia's bringing her boyfriend home. He's a manager, someone important, speaks well, carries himself properly." The implication clear. Nathan's hazel eyes darkening with a sharp sting as Greg continued, "Your job, it's not something we can talk about comfortably. It'd be best if you didn't come." The dismissal, a bitter wound, Nathan's hazel eyes glinting with a cold fury as he shot back. "What the hell are you saying? My job embarrasses you." His voice trembling with anger, Greg's reply sharp, unapologetic, "You coming home would just embarrass the whole family. If you insist on coming, don't call me your father." The threat, a twisted ultimatum. Nathan's hazel eyes widening, with a mix of shock and betrayal as Greg hung up, the silence that followed deafening. His hazel eyes steady as he set the phone down, the rain outside a steady rhythm, his chest tight with a storm of emotions, his hazel eyes clouding with hurt as he replayed Greg's words, the coldness, the rejection, the way his father had reduced him to a source of shame, his hazel eyes narrowing as memories flooded back, the years of neglect, the way Greg and Helen had always put Lydia first, the way they'd forced him to dim his own light so Lydia could shine, his hazel eyes darkening with realization as he thought of the past 2 years. The nearly $10,000 he'd silently paid for their bills, electricity, water, internet, all without a single thank you. His hazel eyes glistening with a bitter resentment as he remembered Lydia's effortless charm, the way she'd always been the center of their world. While Nathan was pushed aside, his hazel eyes steady as he closed his laptop, the itinerary now a painful reminder, he'd been uninvited from his own mother's birthday, cast out like an unwanted guest, his hazel eyes reflecting the dim light. As he leaned back, the rain growing heavier outside, he hadn't expected this, hadn't thought his father's favoritism could cut this deep, wondering if they'd ever cared for him at all, wondering if Lydia even knew about this, wondering if he'd ever find a way to break free from the pain of being their invisible son. The distant hum of the city buzzed through Nathan's Seattle apartment, the late afternoon light filtering through the tall windows, casting long shadows across the polished hardwood floor, where Nathan stood by his desk, his hazel eyes fixed. On his phone, a banking app open on the screen, his finger hovering over the automatic payment settings, his tech company thriving after a recent investor meeting, his 6-figure salary a quiet victory, his hazel eyes steady with the resolve of a man who'd been pushed too far. 3 weeks ago, his father, Greg, had uninvited him from Helen's birthday, claiming Nathan's job would embarrass the family. The words still burning in his chest, his hazel eyes darkening with a cold fury as he thought of the nearly $10,000 he'd paid for their bills over 2 years. Electricity, water, internet, all without a single thank you. His hazel eyes narrowing as he remembered Greg's ultimatum. "If you insist on coming, don't call me your father." The rejection, a bitter sting. Nathan's hazel eyes glinting with a sharp determination as he tapped the screen, canceling the automatic payments one by one, electricity, water, internet, each tap a quiet act of defiance. His hazel eyes steady as he set the phone down, the city outside his window bustling with life. But inside, a storm brewed. His hazel, eyes clouding with a mix of anger and liberation as he thought of the past, the years of neglect, the way Greg and Helen had always chosen Lydia over him, the way they'd forced him to dim his light so Lydia could shine, his hazel eyes darkening. With resentment as he pictured Lydia, the golden child, arriving at the birthday party in a glittering dress, the family fawning over her and her important boyfriend, while Nathan was cast out, his hazel eyes steady as he leaned against the desk. The decision made, he wouldn't be their silent ATM anymore. He wouldn't let them use him. 3 weeks later, on Helen's birthday, Nathan sat in his living room, his hazel eyes fixed on a cold cup of coffee. The clock ticking past 4 p.m. When his phone chimed, Helen's name on the screen, his hazel eyes narrowing with suspicion as he let it ring. The call going to voicemail, followed by Greg's call, then Lydia's. 3 calls in less than 10 minutes, his hazel eyes darkening with a bitter realization as he ignored them all, the messages flooding in moments later. Helen's text first. "Nathan, the power's out. The house is dark. Please pay the bill." Her words a desperate plea, Nathan's hazel eyes glinting with a cold satisfaction as he read Greg's next. "No water. We can't cook. Handle it now." The entitlement a bitter sting. Lydia's message last. "Internet's down. Guests are arriving. Fix this urgently." Her tone demanding. Nathan's hazel eyes steady as he set the phone down. The silence in his apartment, a powerful contrast to the chaos he'd caused. His hazel eyes reflecting the fading light as he thought of the party, the roasted chicken Helen loved, the cake from her favorite bakery. The relatives gathered around the table, all now plunged into darkness, no water to cook, no internet to entertain, the perfect celebration ruined, his hazel eyes glistening with a mix of guilt and triumph as he imagined their panic, the way they'd turn to him only when they needed something, not once asking if he was okay, not once apologizing for uninviting him. His hazel eyes darkening with a quiet resolve as he thought of the past 2 years, the nearly $10,000 he'd given them, the way they'd labeled him the family's shame, his hazel eyes steady as he stood, the city skyline outside a reminder of the life he'd built, a life where he wasn't just a wallet, a life where he could stand tall. He wouldn't answer their calls, wouldn't reply to their texts, wouldn't fix their mess. His hazel eyes reflecting the dim light as he walked to the window, the city alive with possibility. He'd taken back his power, broken free from their demands, but deep down, his hazel eyes clouding with unease, he wondered what they'd say about him now, wondered if they'd ever admit their wrongs, wondered if this act of defiance would finally make them see the sun they'd ignored for so long. The faint glow of the Seattle skyline shimmered through Nathan's apartment window, the evening air cool and crisp, carrying the distant sound of traffic as Nathan sat on his couch, his hazel eyes fixed on his phone, a video call app open on the screen. The name Aunt Clara glowing in soft white, his tech company thriving after a recent milestone, his 6-figure salary a quiet testament to his success, his hazel eyes steady with a mix of curiosity and unease. Earlier that day, Clara had texted, asking to talk about Helen's birthday party, the one Nathan had been uninvited from, the one where he'd cut off their utilities. His hazel eyes narrowing as he answered the call. Clara's face appearing on the screen, her kitchen in the background, the same cramped Olympia home Nathan remembered from childhood, the clink of silverware and uneasy laughter echoing through the call. His hazel eyes darkening with suspicion as Clara spoke. "Nathan, I'm sorry about what happened. They shouldn't have treated you like that." Her voice warm but troubled. Nathan's hazel eyes softening for a moment, a flicker of gratitude in his chest. But that softness vanished as Helen's voice cut through, sharp and bitter. "Tell him I'm ashamed of him, on my birthday of all days. How could he do this?" The words, a dagger. Nathan's hazel eyes flashing with a cold fury as Greg's voice followed, loud and unapologetic. "It's not that serious. Just paying a few bills. What kind of man gets petty over money?" The entitlement a bitter sting. Nathan's hazel eyes narrowing as another voice chimed in, likely an uncle. Poor Lydia, having to deal with a brother like that. The judgment a twisted echo of the favoritism he'd endured for years, his hazel eyes glinting with a quiet rage as Lydia appeared on the screen, her arms folded, her lips twisted with annoyance. He even picked up the call. Mom's been crying all day. Does he even care? No shame at all. Her words a cruel accusation. Nathan's hazel eyes steady as he remained silent, the weight of their words pressing down. But then a new face appeared on the left side of the screen. A young man in a dark suit, his hair perfectly combed, his eyes wide with confusion. "Hey, boss?" His voice hesitant, scratchy. Nathan's hazel eyes widening with disbelief as he gripped the phone tighter, the pieces falling into place. This was Daniel, a new employee at Nathan's company, Pacific Tech, someone he'd exchanged emails with, someone who'd sent him reports, but he'd had no idea Daniel was Lydia's boyfriend, the important manager Greg had bragged about, his hazel eyes glinting with a bitter irony as the room behind Clara fell silent, the whispers starting. Moments later, "Wait, what did he just call Nathan?" Another voice, confused. "Boss? Does that mean Nathan's his boss?" The realization spreading like wildfire. Nathan's hazel eyes steady as he watched the chaos unfold. Daniel standing taller, his voice clear. "In case you didn't know, I work at Pacific Tech. Mr. Nathan is one of the company's co-founders." The words, a bombshell, the room erupting in hushed murmurs, Nathan's hazel eyes glistening with a quiet triumph as he gave a small nod, his voice calm, even. "Hope your big introduction goes well. Daniel." Before ending the call, his hazel eyes reflecting the city lights as he leaned back. The silence in his apartment, a powerful release. For the first time in years, he felt light, not from revenge, but from the truth they could no longer ignore. His hazel eyes steady as he thought of the past, the years he'd been invisible, the nearly $10,000 he'd paid for their bills, the way they'd labeled him the family's shame, his hazel eyes darkening with realization as he remembered Lydia's effortless charm, the way she'd always been their pride, while he was cast aside. But now they knew. Now they saw him, his hazel eyes glinting with a cold satisfaction as his phone buzzed again, an email from Daniel, the subject line, "I'm sorry." Nathan's hazel eyes narrowing as he read, Daniel apologizing, explaining he hadn't known Nathan was Lydia's brother, and ending with, "I'll be ending this relationship. Thank you for not putting me on the spot." Nathan's hazel eyes steady as he typed a reply, "That's your matter. I don't. Bring family into the workplace. Think carefully." His response firm, unyielding, his hazel eyes reflecting the dim light as he set the phone down. He'd finally been seen. But deep down, his hazel eyes clouding with unease. He knew this wasn't the end, knew Lydia would try to fix things, knew his family's drama would keep chasing him, wondering how they'd handle the truth, wondering if they'd ever truly change, wondering if he'd ever be free from their shadow. The soft chirp of morning birds drifted through Nathan's Seattle apartment, the early sunlight streaming through the open balcony door, casting a warm golden hue over the sleek hardwood floor, where Nathan stood by the glass door, his hazel eyes tracing the vibrant city skyline, a cup of black coffee in his hand, the rich aroma mixing with the fresh air, his tech company thriving after a recent breakthrough, his six-figure salary a quiet testament to his independence, his hazel eyes steady with the calm of a man who'd finally taken control. The past weeks had been a whirlwind, Greg uninviting him from Helen's birthday, Nathan cutting off their utilities, Daniel revealing Nathan's success at the party, Lydia's desperate apology after Daniel ended their relationship, his hazel eyes softening as he thought of her message. "I'm sorry. I didn't think Daniel would change like that. You're his boss. Please talk to him." Her words a hollow plea, Nathan's hazel eyes darkening with realization as he'd replied, "He left because of how you live, how you treat people, how you look down on what you don't understand." His response firm, unyielding, his hazel eyes steady as he sipped his coffee, the bitterness grounding him. But that chapter wasn't closed. His hazel eyes narrowing as he heard a knock on his door. The sound sharp, unexpected. His hazel eyes glinting with suspicion as he opened it. Greg and Helen standing there, small suitcases in hand, their faces drawn with exhaustion from the long drive from Olympia. His hazel eyes darkening with unease as Greg spoke first. "Nathan, we've come to talk." His voice quieter than... Nathan remembered, Helen adding, "We've thought things through. Maybe we went too far." Her tone soft, almost sincere. Nathan's hazel eyes steady as he let them in, the air heavy with tension. They sat in the living room, a tray of tea steaming on the table, his hazel eyes narrowing as Greg continued, "We're sorry. Things shouldn't have come to this," the apology a rare crack in his father's pride. Helen nodding, "We didn't mean to push you away." Her words a fragile olive branch, Nathan's hazel eyes glistening with a flicker of hope. But that hope shattered as Greg's tone shifted. "We're family, Nathan. Family helps each. We raised you, sent you to school, everything you have, a part of it comes from us, right?" The entitlement a bitter sting. Nathan's hazel eyes darkening with realization. "A part of it comes from us, right? If you could send us $2,000 a month." Nathan's hazel eyes darkening with realization. It's not much for someone like Helen. A part of it comes from us, her voice quiet. "If you could send us $2,000 a month." Nathan's hazel eyes flashing with a cold fury as he leaned back, the weight of their words pressing down. They hadn't come to reconcile, they'd come to collect. His hazel eyes steady as he spoke, his voice low, clear. "What about Lydia? How much? Will she contribute each month?" The question a sharp challenge. Greg's eyes darting to Helen, her voice faltering, her job's unstable. Daniel leaving took a toll on her. The same excuses, the same deflection. Nathan's hazel eyes glinting with a quiet resolve as he replied, "If she agrees to send $2,000 a month, I'll do the same. No more, no less. Or if I cover it all, I'll need a legal agreement, the house in my name after you're gone." His terms unyielding, Greg's face twisting with anger, his palm slamming the table, the teacup tipping over, spilling across the wood. "You're setting conditions on your parents. We raised you for years, and now you nickel and dime us." His shout echoing. Nathan's hazel eyes steady as he stood, his voice calm, piercing. "I think you should leave my house." The words a powerful boundary. Greg and Helen frozen, their suitcases dragging across the floor as they left, the doctor clicking shut behind them, his hazel eyes reflecting the sunlight as he walked to the balcony, the city alive below. 2 years had passed since that day, his hazel eyes steady as he thought of the silence that followed.
Did you know that
No
by
calls,
the time you're 80...
No messages, no, "How are you?" His hazel eyes glistening with a quiet pride as he realized they'd never change. They'd never seen him as more than a wallet. But he'd changed. His hazel eyes
Ladies and
reflecting
gentlemen,
the clear sky.
There's a brutal
was free,
truth we all must
truly free
confront
from their
eventually,
toxic grip,
and it comes with age,
ready to live
like
for
an
himself,
uninvited guest.
ready to build a life with people who valued him for who he was.
There comes
Not
a
what he
time
could give.
in life when the roles
His hazel eyes steady as he looked out. A new chapter unfolding. One where he'd never look back. One where he'd finally found peace. One where he was enough, just as he was.
In 1932, the unemployment rate in this country was 23.6%. Let me say that again. The unemployment rate in 1932 was 23.6%. We were at the depth of what came to be known as the Great Depression, the cruelest economic depression in American history. Starving children were going to bed hungry in this country in 1932. The suicide rate was skyrocketing. And today, the Trump stock market is on its way, according to the Wall Street Journal, to the, quote, worst April since 1932. Prior to the Donald Trump stock market, not a single economic indicator in this country has ever resembled anything in 1932 during the entire course of our lifetimes. But now Donald